Okay, so we have the 8A Business Development Program, and that's for your socially or economically disadvantaged individuals. And that is for individuals you can fall under if you are African American, Asian, Hawaiian. They have it's Native Hawaiian organizations. If all of the different I guess I say race backgrounds. And then if it's socially economically underprivileged, then we're looking at individuals who have diminished capital. So that is the 8A Business Development Program, which you do have quite a lot of people who decide to move forward in that program, because the beauty of it is you can receive an award up to $4 million for a service. And actually services are up to 4 mil. And if it's a product, it's actually higher. So you have the 8A Business Development. It's called Business Development because it's a 9-year program. And I'm going to get into that more. We have now Women-Owned Small Business Program. And Vanessa, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm
okay. Here. I want to make sure. We have Women-Owned Small Business Program certification. The process to become certified as a woman-owned small business, first you have to register your business in the System for Award Management. It's called the SAM registration. And I've helped many individuals that as well. Sometimes that can be very tough on some individuals because if you're not really, familiar with government contracting, for some it can be intimidating, but you have to ensure that you register your business with SAM first. And then once you receive it's called your CAGE code, CAGE. It's a contract and government entity code. Once you receive that back, you'll receive an email from DLA, that's Department of Logistics Agency. Then you can proceed to move forward with all the other certifications. Now, with the Women-Owned Small Business Program, it does not, depending on your NAICS code, the NAICS code is considered industry classification. So you have different classifications, whether it's painting, whether it's paving, it could be HVAC, and everything has its own industry classification. So what the SBA has done, actually within the last, I think 2 months, they came out with a new list for different industries that can actually be certified. You have WOSB, and then you have, I call it WOSB. So if you hear me say WOSB, it's the WOSB program. And then this economically disadvantaged Women-Owned Small Business Program. And so depending on your NAICS code, which in the NAICS is North American Industry Classification System. And so once you know what your NAICS code is, and you could have more than one, because let's say you sell a product. You have a product, and let's say you also have a service. You can also put that into your SAM registration. So just because you have multiple does not mean that you can't move forward in it. Okay, someone is asking, do you help with SWAM as well, which I know is local and stuff federal. I have not really gotten to the state requirements. I am familiar with it, and I will talk about that at the end. Okay, and so we also have, it's called Hub Zone, and it's historically underutilized business zone. And so that's another socioeconomic program, and it depends on where you live. Some of the different Hub Zone contractors, they also have employees that live in a Hub Zone. There is a Hub Zone mapping tool that you can use. You can put in your address, and it will tell you if your business is located in a Hub Zone. And then we have the Service Disabled Veteran-Owned Small Business Program. And that means 3% of awards will go to an SDVOSB. Right now, the SDVOSB program is going to be going back to SBA, which is the Small Business Administration. I think by 2023, they're going to be doing this, the certification. Right now, I believe it was going through Vet First or Vet Biz. So that's going to be going back to SBA. And then when you see the little circle, you can see how much goes to small business, and then how much will go to large businesses. Okay. So these are the steps, and I had one thing that I had to, I'm gonna clarify. So when you first start, you want to figure out if you provide goods or services to the government. And then, of course, you're going to determine your, and I said the NAICS code, which is your North American Industry Classification System. And so you can go through census.gov and see, I don't think I can go to another screen, right, Vanessa? I don't want to mess anything up. So,
go to the next slide, or you mean like screen share?
Yeah, screen share.
You can.
I don't think, okay, I don't want, you know what, I don't want to mess anything up. Okay. I'll just explain it. So census.gov, when you go in there, and then if you'll copy the link, you're going to go to, it's going to, on the left side, it's going to say search, and then you can put in training, consulting, I believe. You can put in legal services, you can put in notary, and I believe the notaries in the 500 series, usually all of the NAICS codes, there's 6 digits. A lot of if they start with the number 3, that's usually your products. We're talking about manufacturing. And then you have the 200 series is usually construction. The 300 is usually your manufacturing. And then sector 40, I think it's 42, 43, 45 is wholesale. So we do not do wholesale at all. And then your 400, I believe, I think that deals more with, I believe, training. And then I think 500 and 600 series could be training, consulting, other industries. Now, when I made these slides, there is a change. You used to have to get your DUNS number, but now you will receive a UEI number. And so they changed that, I believe, a couple months ago. As a matter of fact, it might have been more than a couple months ago. But so once you go into SAM, you will receive a UEI number. You have to utilize the UEI number to move forward. And of course, let's see, register with SAM. The very last step when you are in SAM is the SBA profile, and we call it the dynamic small business search. And a lot of the contracting officers, a lot of the contract specialists, and also the small business specialists will utilize the small business dynamic search to search for your business. So if you decide to move forward and register your business in SAM, do not skip any steps. It's almost like the very last screen is going to be where it's going to take you into another screen called the dynamic small business search. If you do not do that, they're not going to be able to find you. So make sure you do not hit submit unless you upload all of your information under the dynamic small business search. Okay. All right. And so this talks about the NAICS code. And I'm not going to read it all. So when I was telling you about the sectors, I have it here. When I talk about sectors 42, 44, and 45, they're not applicable to federal contracts. It's mandatory that you have a NAICS code because it identifies the industry that you are working in, whether it's, like I said, it could be a product or it could be a service. So, and I'm going to just read just the part on the top. It says, as a business, you must match your products and services to a NAICS code. And it says businesses generally have a primary NAICS code, and you may have multiple NAICS codes. So that's one of the things you have to remember. If you have several things that say you are marketing to the government, you may not, you have to really think, what is the one NAICS code that you're working in the most? And then you're going to match that up. Even when you're moving forward with your women-owned small business certification, they don't take all of the NAICS codes for the WOSB and the EDWSB certification. And so we'll get into that when we get to that slide. Before I go to the next slide, does anyone have a question at all? Because it's going to be a lot of information. So I don't see any questions yet. Okay, I did put it here. Okay, so yeah, so DUNS transferred to UEI. And so let's see. Yeah, they changed, GSA had the DUNS number forever. The whole 30 years I worked, we always saw DUNS numbers. So to go to UEI, I believe I don't know if another contractor won the award. So I believe you still need your DUNS number, though, for those of you who have a business and you're utilizing NAV. I believe you still will use it in that instance. And so when you are in SAM, it's going to assign the UEI number to you. And so it's just different steps that you're going to go through. One of the things I will tell you is take your time. If you can set aside maybe 1 to 2 hours, if you plan to move forward, just take your time, do one thing at a time. Make sure you have everything in front of you, anything you need to upload, any of your banking information, your company information. Make sure you have everything before you start, because it is quite a lot of information. It's a lot of questions you will have to answer. And so once you get through the whole process, like I said, it could take 1 to 2 hours once you're done. And once you hit that submit button, you will usually hear something back within 2 to 3 days. And I will tell you this, and I've helped some people. One of the issues I see a lot is business name. IRS may have your name, say it may, I'll use myself. I used to be iRise by Jet LLC, and then I changed to iRise by Jet Notary Services. So if I was to go into SAM right now and I put the LLC, I probably will get a rejection because it's not the same information that IRS has. And then even if, and I will tell you this, if you do go and look up, say your Dun & Bradstreet information, I would tell you to call. I had a lady one time, we were actually doing this together. She went to go look at her profile and looked at the information. The way that it was written, it was, I believe there might have been a comma or a period missing. If you miss one thing, it will be rejected. So make sure you have the business name exactly the way they have it at IRS. Make sure that everything is exactly the way that you submitted it. If you miss one little period, it will be rejected. Okay, so it says, Angelique, I already have a SAMS number, had it for years, and my grandfathered in with my number. If you have a SAMS number, it should still be good. You could probably go into SAM. If you, Angelique, I'll ask you this question. Do you have a cage code as well? You probably may have to go in to look and see if you have your cage code. So if you can answer that, then I can go ahead and respond to you. All right, so we talked about SAM. Okay, the next thing, capability statement. And I do have samples. One of the things you have to remember is when you decide to market your product or service to a federal agency, we want to see your information. So a lot of times you will be dealing with a small business specialist. You more than likely will not be able to talk to the contracting team because they're very busy, and especially at this time of the year, which is the fourth quarter. So your capability statement, you only need 1 page. You do not need to make it colorful. The only thing that you should put on that 1 page is your expertise, like a brief summary of your key staff, expertise, any facilities and equipment. And of course, list your cage code, NAICS codes. I also will say put on your capability statement if you are a WOSB, if you have a GSA schedule, put all of that information. One of the things that happens, like if you decide, let's say I'll use Angelique. Angelique says, okay, I'm going to go sit down with a small business specialist with the Department of Navy. I'm going to give her my capability statement. And so what that small business specialist is going to do, she's going to look it over. She's going to see what NAICS code you fall under. She wants to see any certifications and see if they usually have a listing of requirements that are coming out. It's called acquisition forecast. And so it usually comes out in either, I believe, November or December. And so one of the things, and I'll just tell you from my experience, I would look to see if your capabilities will match anything that's coming down on the list. And so I can put you, I used to have a database, and also the contracting officers, if they call me or a contract specialist, they would say, hey, this particular NAICS code, we're looking for someone who can do paving. These are the requirements. Do you have anyone? And so if I have your capability statement, I have it filed, I have it on the database, I can say, you know what, here's a company. And it looks like, you know what, they've done this, they've done that. So this is a company that I'm going to refer to you. And so I have a couple of questions here. Let's see, is it ideal to use a virtual address? For Danita, using a virtual address, I believe, could possibly be an issue. I believe there was a lady that I helped. I think she had a virtual address, and we had an issue trying to get her SAM and registered. So that could be an issue. Angelique says, yes, a Cage and Dunn's number. My SAM's number is under my primary business. I have to set up another number, or can I just add my notary business to the old number? Okay, so Angelique, what you can do, you can go in and edit. And when you get to the part where you add in your different NAICS codes, you're going to add in, and I believe it's under the 500 series. I used to know it by heart. Is it 5541199 or one of those numbers? You can just add it in. And so this is one of the things I will tell you. And I want to see at the end, Vanessa, you may have to help me with this. I do want to show you guys how to look at the woman-owned small business listing of NAICS codes that falls under WOSB and EDWSB, because not all of the NAICS codes are on the list. And so when you think about using your primary NAICS code to move forward for your woman-owned small business certification, you want to make sure it is on the WOSB or the EDWOSB list. Okay, and then yes, and if Lauren, yes, it is. It's a little different than a resume, but what it is you're basically, it's like you're selling yourself. You're letting the government know, I can do this work. This is the work I've done, and this is how I want to move forward. And like I said, you don't have to have beautiful colors. We just want one page. The biggest thing that I always look at is I want to see your NAICS codes. I want to see your certifications, and I want to see what work you've done. And it's very brief. And if you do, I'm going to be honest, I have always looked at just the first page. You do not need 2 and 3 pages. Condense it. Like if you can put a lot of your information like on the left side in a little block, and then put everything else in the middle. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. Let me, I'll wait to the end because it's hard for me to go back and forth. So here's a sample of a capability statement. And as you can see, you have an overview. And this is ABC company, and it just talks a little bit about the experience. You see where it's highlighted, it says service disabled veteran owned small business. And I love the fact that it's highlighted. I'm going to be looking at that. Where it says services, you see how they have, this one is for, let me see, tree service. So now they're talking about what their services include: tree pruning, tree care, weed removal, tree removal. Okay. And then when products, this is interesting. So this, even though it's a sample, it says services and products. So it says ABC company not only recycles the tree waste produced by our tree crews, but we accept tree waste from several other tree service and land clearance companies in Clarksville, Tennessee. Amazing. And so for that particular NAICS code, they used the 561730, which is landscaping services. And they have a little bit of information about, it seems, Albert Smith. It says he's a disabled veteran who served 15 years at Fort Knox. It says ABC Company is a privately held Tennessee LLC headquartered in Nashville, Tennessee. The company location is highly accessible to Fort Campbell, Kentucky. I'm telling you, that right there is amazing. Just the fact that he says they're highly accessible. And look on the very bottom where it says classification. It's SBA, small business, and SDVOSB. So that's service disabled, veteran owned small business. So this is beautiful. One page, you don't have to be extreme with it. Okay. All righty. So now I'm going to get into the 8A Business Development Program. Okay, so one of the things I want to tell you all, when you decide to move forward with government contracting, if you're the person that's doing a lot of the paperwork, I will suggest maybe you have someone else who can help you with, maybe this part, the admin part, just to get everything in for you. It is, it's a lot to do. The 8A program is a program that has helped a lot of minority businesses. It's a 9-year program. The first 4 years is business development. So the emphasis is on sole source contracts. It is strengthening your financial and managerial skills. Okay, so remember, 9 years that you will be in this program. So don't rush to just move forward because, I'm an 8A contractor. Make sure you have everything in place. Make sure you know who you're going to be working with. And I believe I will be talking about joint ventures, men of proteges. Let's see. I think time-wise we'll be able to talk about it. So your last 5 years, what's happening is now we're trying to transition you back into the outside world, because every year, starting with year 5, there's so much work that you're going to take on, like say with an outside entity. So it could be maybe a state requirement. And then year 6 is going to increase, I believe, 20%. And then year 8, I think we're at 30. And then, of course, now you're at your 9th year. And so hopefully by that time, now you're transitioning out of the program. So I will tell you all, I've been training a lot of notaries. Some of them are actually starting to take some construction courses because now they're saying, you know what, I'm going to branch into and do something else. Some of them have been able to find, I guess, different construction trainings that are actually free. And actually 2 ladies in Tennessee, they actually, I don't know how they found it. I don't know if they went through the job board, but they are actually taking some construction courses because they have another thought process on how they want to move forward with government contracting. Couple of ladies I've helped, they have their women-owned small business certification. I helped them with that. So don't just think, just notary stuff. If there's anything else that you do, like Vanessa said earlier, hey, think about government contracting. But like I said, when it comes to the 8A program, do not rush into it, because once you're in the program, every year there's an annual review that's done on your business. And so the business development specialists, they look at, what you're doing. There's going to be quite a lot of help you're going to receive, especially in the first 4 years. So the first 4 years, you want to be able to work with SBA, the business development. You'll have a business development specialist assigned to you. And so that's when you're going to be trying to go after quite a lot of your sole source requirements. Okay. All right. And so I'm going to talk a little bit, give you a little bit more information on the business development program. So it assists qualified small firms to become federal contractors, offering training in business management and marketing, opportunities to team with other companies, and you get support when competing for federal contracts. And that's why we call it a business development program. So you will work closely with your business development specialist. There is an 8A office in every state. SBA.gov, you can do a search like for the district office in your particular state. So if you are in Atlanta, you can go to sba.gov and then you'll do a search for the district office. They used to have the names of everyone, but I think now they're only putting the director and the division director on there now. And so they usually will have like a box, a link where you can submit your information, to get more, help. When you decide to move forward with the 8A Business Development Program, you actually will be going into another portal to do that. And that's beta.certify.gov. So there's a lot of different portals. Every socioeconomic program has its own portal. So we'll go over that as well. This is the eligibility criteria for the 8A program. As I stated, it's for the socially and economically disadvantaged individual. You must have 51% or more control. Control and manage concern on a full-time basis. You must have good character, not debarred, suspended, be on parole or probation. Of course, you got to be registered in SAM. 2 years business history in primary industry classification as shown with tax returns. Sometimes it may be waived. Now, I will be honest, I've never actually had anyone come in where anything was waived because no one ever asked. However, there is criteria. If you've been doing a lot of work in a specific industry and you're doing really good, you got a lot of revenue, there are, I think it's like 12 different steps that will qualify you to be waived. And so I don't know if I go over that tonight, but there is a way for you to, move forward if you don't have the 2 years. Okay. All right. When I talk about socially disadvantaged, and I told you in the beginning, it's for members. It could be, I say, Black American, Asian, Hispanic American, and includes individuals of Spanish and Portuguese descent, Native American, subcontinent Asian American. Individuals in social disadvantage are persons who have been subjected to racial or ethnic prejudice or cultural bias because of their identities as members of groups without regard to individual qualities. Now, there was a gentleman who was blind, and I don't know, was he all the way blind? I believe he was maybe 50%, and he was actually able to get into the 8A program. I had 2 gentlemen when I was working in Arizona. They were actually white males, but they were very young. They were at the time early 20s, and they said they experienced prejudice from the senior individuals working in the same industry as them. I believe at the time they were doing, I think it was paving and some construction. So they said because the senior individuals have been I guess, giving them a hard time because they looked so young, they decided they were going to pursue going after the 8A program. And guess what? They were able to do it. And they actually did their, I don't know how many years they stayed in, but they fought it. They said, we have been subjected to ethnic prejudice. So they actually won. Okay, so economically disadvantaged is individuals are economically disadvantaged if their ability to compete in the free enterprise system has been impaired due to diminished access to capital and credit. I will tell you all, especially like we're in the 4th quarter right now, we go off of quarters. So the fiscal year ends September 30th, and then it begins, of course, October 1st. So like the last 3, I would say actually starting May, June, the contracting offices are super busy because now they have to spend money. They have to spend all the money that has been allocated to their particular agency. And so right now, you're going to see a lot of awards going to 8A contractors because it's one of the easiest way to award a contract. And I'm going to be honest. So it's a program you definitely want to look into. It is very beneficial. It's helpful. They have the 7J program. You do get a lot of help, training. You work really close with your business development specialist. And so that is a socioeconomic program that has really benefited and helped quite a lot of people. All right. And so I think we talked about the 9-year program. And so I said it's partnership agreement with 47 agencies. And I didn't tell you FAR, it means Federal Acquisition Regulation. So the regulations are out of the FAR. And I use acronyms, FAR. So when I say DFAR, that's Defense Federal Acquisition Regulation, and FAR is Federal Acquisition Regulation out of 19.8. Okay, let's see. All right. Now, 8A participants can build capacity with joint venture agreements. Okay, so what is a joint venture agreement? So let's say, let me see, Danita, you decide that you want to team up with Angelique. Okay, and I'm going to use you too so I can tell you how this works. So Danita and Angelique say, okay, so I do construction, you do paving. We're going to work together to go after an opportunity, or it could be more than just one. And so when you guys come together, you're no longer Danita or just Angelique. I'm gonna say Danalique. Now you have decided to come together to to do a joint venture agreement. And it's like you're using your company, Angelique is using her company. You're coming together to form a whole brand new company. And so once you bring your companies together, you still have your own company, but this joint venture agreement is used to go after many different opportunities. And so there's a lot of companies, sometimes they come in, they do the joint ventures together because maybe there's another company that maybe they were a sub to them in the past, maybe decided we're going to work together to go after an opportunity. So you do have the joint venture agreements as well. All right. Okay, and this is the net worth criterion, and it says total net worth, equity in your primary residence. You start off at the 250, less the equity in business, less IRA or 401k, and equals adjusted net worth must not exceed $250,000. All right. Okay, so do you remember when I was telling you about how you can get away from the 2-year requirement? It's called potential for success waiver. And so the potential for success waiver, it says, okay, I've been in business, say, 1.5 years. I want to move forward, but I don't have the 2 years. So this is what they would look at. So you have to demonstrate business management experience, technical expertise, ability to carry out your business plan. You have to have a record of successful performance on contracts from governmental and non-governmental sources and the primary industry category. It says applicant can demonstrate ability to obtain the personnel, facilities, equipment, and any other requirements needed to perform such contracts in a timely manner. And you have to address each point with the preponderance of evidence to be able to convince reviewers that the applicant company can be successful if admitted to the 8A program. Okay, so this is potential for success waiver that I was talking about earlier. All right, so the 8A application process, they are filed online at certified.sba.gov. Paper is no longer accepted. When I started years ago, they used to do paper. So you will collect, scan, and of course, upload all of your required documents. And it's very secure. Once you finish your SAM registration, and for some of you, you may want to do your WOSB certification, then usually a lot of people after that, they may go forward with the 8A application process. If you guys have a pen and paper, write this down, put certified.sba.gov for the 8A application process. And I believe you guys will have access to the slides or the guess the video afterwards. Okay, let me see. I'm going to look. Let me see. It's 7. Let me see. We can do it. Let's see. We'll do something. No. Okay, Mary, I'm going to leave that question at the end. Okay. All right. So before I get into Hub Zone, did anyone have any 8A questions? I don't see anything yet. Okay. And I will address that question, Mary, at the end. All right. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever heard of the Hub Zone program. So it's the historically and I've always had a hard time saying underutilized business zone program. This program, it helps federal agencies achieve their statutory goal of 3%. So if you remember the little pie showed you, 3% of federal contracting dollars will go to a Hub Zone small business. SBA oversees the Hub Zone program. And to be eligible, the term, you must be a United States citizen. And then this is the certification requirement. At least 35% of the small business employees must generally reside in a hub zone. The Hub Zone program targets assistance to small businesses located in areas where there's low income, high poverty, or high unemployment. So if you guys have a pen and paper, if you could please write this down, put Hub Zone Mapping Tool. It's called Hub Zone Mapping Tool. And so what you can do, later on, you can go into the Hub Zone Mapping Tool. You're going to put in your address, and it will tell you just like that if your company is in a hub zone. And so I think it will turn green, and it will say yes. So it's called Hub Zone Mapping Tool. Okay, so what it does, it increases employment opportunities, it stimulates capital investment, empower communities through economic leveraging. It says at any given time, there are about 6,000 small firms in the Hub Zone program at the national level. Now, I will tell you, I used to go out and do the reviews for Hub Zone. There are people who have homes and they work out of their home, and this one particular business, the very bottom, I guess they decided to turn it into like an office. They actually had a whole section with computers. They had phones. The whole downstairs was nothing but an office. That's perfectly okay. Now, I will tell you, if you decide, if you are in a hub zone, say you're working at your home, you have to have a designated area. Excuse me. And even if it's a house, you got to have signage. So if someone is going to do a program review and they come out, they'll take pictures. You got to make sure you have the signage out in the front. When the person comes in to do that program review, if it's an office, the person goes in, they want to see. And I used to be the person that did the review. So we want to make sure you have a phone. Make sure somebody has a desk, there's computers there. So we want to make sure it's a business. There have been times when I went to a business to do a Hub Zone review, and guess what? It's a warehouse and nothing's in it. And so there is a lot of people, sometimes they'll say they have a Hub Zone, but what they forget is we actually do go out and we do review. And so there was another gentleman, he dedicated one part of his whole house. It was all computers. And if you say you have 2 employees, we want to make sure that they have a desk and they have a phone, they have a computer. And so you want to make sure if you do qualify, yes, can you work out of your home? Yes, you can. But you got to make sure that that person has the computer and they have everything they need to do their job. Okay. And so, so what the Hub Zone program, what they're stating you need for your documents, general business information, and once again, UEI. So we don't do the DUNS anymore. Business and personal federal tax returns for the last 3 years. So what I will suggest is if you decide to move forward, save everything in a folder. And so you can say this is Hub Zone stuff, create little folders, put everything in it. So when you're starting to do your uploads, all you got to do is upload your information. You got business ownership, documentation, articles of incorporation, citizen documentation for owners. You got the appropriate NAICS code. And this is important, proof of principal office, such as a lease agreement and city county permits, official payroll records, and other information showing employees residing within hub zones, and it says other information supporting hub zone eligibility requirements. I do want to tell you guys, I did help a young lady, and she had an office, and it was in a building where there's other offices. And so I believe this is when we were just doing the SAM registration. And so one of the things that they wanted is for her to show her lease. They wanted to show that you are paying so much per month for your business to be in this office, because when they showed the address, it showed all these other companies. But what they want to know is outside, do you have like a mailbox or something that says this is your company and this is your business and there's a lease agreement? Okay. Let's see. Okay. Now, I want to talk, I hope I don't go over your head with this because there's so much information. So I want to talk about another great thing about the Hub Zone program. Okay. A lot of times, okay, so you have awards that go out. Sometimes they may award it to just Hub Zones. It could be where they set it aside for just women-owned businesses. And then it could be where they're setting aside for the 8A program, competitive awards. Now, one great thing about the Hub Zone program, and let me see, they have something called a price evaluation preference. This is when you look at full and open competition. When I say full and open, that means large businesses are going to respond to a requirement with small businesses. Now, let me see. Let me go to the next slide, see if I got it here. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about adding the factor. So let's say a Hub Zone company decides to respond to a requirement. It went out full and open. It went out to small businesses. It went out to large businesses. Large business comes back, and they're large, so they might have a smaller amount that they put down. And a Hub Zone, maybe they were, say, 9% more. So the beauty is that if there's a 10%, it's called a evaluation preference, we're able to apply it. And so the Hub Zone can actually displace the large contractor. Now, and the reason I'm telling you all this is because you need to know this. If you move forward, you're a Hub Zone contractor and there's an award out there and you're within 10% of this large business, now they have to apply the 10% price evaluation preference to it says the otherwise lowest responsible offer from a large business. And let me see if I have the samples here. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is how it works. So there's an offer. So let me see if this is one where it came in. Okay, this one, the large business was 100. The offer was 100. The small business was 103. The Hub Zone was 113. And let's see. Okay, he still was okay. And this one, if a price equal award to the Hub Zone SBC, in this case, I believe this one, the large business is the lowest responsible and responsible offer. And then it says after applying the 10%, okay, this one, the large business is still the lowest responsive and responsible offer. So if, say, the Hub Zone came in at 10, and we applied the 10% to the large business, the Hub Zone would displace the large business and win in the award. So I think I have another sample to show you. Okay, this one, it didn't apply because, see, 97 has to be within 10%. So this one, before the PEP applied, the small business is the lowest responsive and responsible offer. So they're going to get the award anyway. Since lowest offer is not a large business, the Hub Zone PEP is not applied. And the reason that is because the small business came in lower than the large business. So we didn't have to apply it. So, okay. Did anybody have questions? I know that might have been a lot. But if you're able to go into the Hub Zone mapping tool after I'm done, please go in and look and see if your particular company falls in the realm of being in a Hub Zone. Okay. And we'll talk more. All right. I'm going to just take a couple questions. Let me see. Okay, I'm gonna go back to, okay, Mary, you said, will it be difficult to receive an award if I've not made an income and have no expertise? Okay. So Mary, I think with you, when it comes to, if you're going to go after government contracts, you got to definitely have some, of course, capital, I don't know, line of credit, because, you got to remember, you got to be able to perform. And sometimes performing a requirement takes other people to help you with that. And so it might be a matter of and I don't know what you guys will do with your business. If your business is in good standings, maybe think about doing a line of credit. They do have programs. The SBA has a lot of different programs when it comes to the 7J loans. So that is something that you would want to think about. Do not go after an opportunity unless you definitely can perform. You can do 20 different contracts. If you mess up on one, that's the one they will always remember. Okay. Do you have to have employees for the hub zone, or can you be solo? So if you are in a hub zone, Angela, and let's say, let me think of a requirement. Let's say there's a service. If you're able to do that requirement by yourself, if you're, say, training, can you do the training in your solo? If you're in a hub zone, you're a hub zone contractor and it's just you. Let's say there's a hub zone requirement. There was one, I remember a lady, she performed, I think it was piano services. And I believe she fell under women-owned, hub zone, small business, but she was solo. So yes, you would be okay. Let's see. Oh, okay. And for Cantrice, let's say you don't have a business form yet. Is there a way to see contracts available? Yes. And so if we have time at the end, if I'm able to share, I can show you guys how to look for contracts. It does not matter if you're in the system right now, because one of the things I will tell you all to do is look and see what's out there. There were quite a lot of fingerprinting requirements, for federal contracting, of course, with GSA, that's a whole nother entity, General Service Administration. So let's see. Let me see. The lowest bid gets the job. Cassandra. Right. Cassandra. So what happens? I'm going to go back really fast. I just want to show you guys something. Let me go back. So once again, if, let's say, I'm going to go back to the one before this. Okay. So this one, if the hub zone would have been at, say, 110 on this one, and they applied the 10% to the large business. So you see the offers. So the large business comes in at 100, and I should have made this 110 so you guys can see how this works. If the hub zone came in and they bid at 110, and we put the 10% on top of that 100, and the large business is 110 and the hub zone is actually going to win this award. So this is the beauty of the hub zone program. Just this in itself is awesome. I'll be honest with you all. A lot of times stuff like this, the small business specialist gets into a lot of this. So I've worked at different agencies where it was not always applied like it was supposed to. Anytime there's a requirement, and you got to know this, if there's a requirement and it's full and open, it's going to everybody. That means large businesses, small businesses, and you are a hub zone. You want to always remember that there's a PEP, it's called Price Evaluation Preference, that can be applied. And if you're within that 10% of the large business, you can win the award. So, all right, I think that answered that question. I'm not for sure if anyone, it was in the military, but I am going to talk about the Service Disabled Veteran-Owned Contracting Program. All right. Okay, but before I do, was there any questions? Let's see. I think I answered everything. It says, Shani Dorsey, did you have a question? Because I know it's a lot. And so I want to make sure I'm answering as we're going along. Did anybody have any questions on 8A or hub zone yet? Okay. All right. Okay, before I get into this, I want to tell you guys, and I'm sorry, women and men, in the SAM registration, a lot of times when there's a requirement out there, and hopefully I can do a share at the end, if there's a opportunity out there, and I'm going to say fingerprinting. Let's say there's a fingerprinting opportunity and you have your live scan machine, you got maybe some friends, some other people that's going to be working with you. You look at this opportunity, you look at it, you say, you know what, I think I can go after this opportunity. So I'm going to tell you, one of the things that you definitely want to start doing is looking to see what's out there. If you think that you can respond and you think you can perform, you always want to respond if there's it's called RFI, and I'm going to type it in. It's RFI, and it's requests for, I'm sorry, QEST, for information. A lot of times there's opportunities that come up, and the contracting, can you guys see that? Okay. A lot of times the contracting officer, contract specialist wants to see who's out there. So sometimes they will put out a request for information. And so they want to know who's out there, who can perform. Are there women-owned small businesses? Are there veteran-owned small businesses? Are there 8A companies? So the way that you can influence an acquisition strategy is by responding. If there's a request for information, please respond. And so if you're responding, let me tell you the process. So if you're responding, so there's 7 ladies, and 2 of you are one. Well, all of you guys say you all have your women-owned small business certification, but maybe 2 of you also are 8A contractors. So the contracting officer, and always remember this, contracting officer, they work with the small business specialist, and they have goals they have to meet. So a lot of times when we get to the very end of the fiscal year, the first thing we're going to look at is, where are we low? Because, you know, we all want to meet goals. Every federal agency wants to meet their goals because, of course, you know, you get your bonuses and all that. So what happens, and I'll be honest, it's always been kind of tough to meet hub zones and sometimes even SDVOSB. You never know. 8As fall under small disadvantaged businesses. Okay. So a SDB may not necessarily be an 8A, but an 8A will always be an SDB. And the reason that is because even as a small disadvantaged business, you still have to put in for the 8A program. So right now, let's say Naomi. Naomi is a small disadvantaged business, but she didn't put in for the 8A program. And then let's say Linda. Okay, so Linda, I don't know if you were in the very beginning. There are opportunities for notaries. There are opportunities, fingerprinting, legal. As Vanessa stated in the very beginning, there's many varied opportunities, not necessarily just notary opportunities. And so if you go into USA Spending, you can put in the NAICS code for notaries, and you will see there's not a lot of work for notaries in federal contracting. There are more opportunities with fingerprinting. And when it comes to the more of the state requirements, you will see a lot more awards. I will tell you all, in your respective cities, states, start to work with PTAC. PTAC is Procurement Technical Assistance Center. Also SBDC, which I'm gonna put this in the chat for you guys because I know I have a lot of acronyms. And I'm Procurement Technical Assistance Center and SBDC. Usually small business development centers, you will see them on a lot of your college campuses. Okay. And the reason I tell you this is because there was a young lady who received a notary contract with the state a couple months ago, and I talked to her on the phone. What she did, she worked with, I think she worked with PTAC, but she also was able to get a listing from PTAC What PTAC can do for you is they can see how much was awarded to a notary in your state. They can actually, because I have the list for Virginia. In Virginia, well, believe it or not, a lot of the work has been going to the Secretary of State. That's another story. But in different states, there's notary opportunities being awarded, whether it's housing. It could be, what is it? What's that word? It could be civil injury, just different entities that may need notary. So when you ask how is this relevant for a notary, there are opportunities, whether it's state, there's minor opportunities for federal, but there are a lot of fingerprinting requirements out there. And so for those of you who are, of course, notaries like me, it may behoove you to also look at fingerprinting. Of course, you may have to buy the live scan machine, but there are opportunities out there for you. Okay. Home base, but my accountant is in a hub zone and is allowing me to use an extra office when I need to with this fire. So this is okay. So for Angela, you're home based. That's kind of like a legal question. I don't know. I mean, is that actually, are you ever doing business over there? So perfect example, let's say, are you going to the accountant? Maybe you have a live scan machine there. Are you doing business over there? That is kind of like more legal. So I don't know if I can really answer that because you're home based, but your accountant is in a hub zone. So usually your business should be in a hub zone. But what you can do, like I said, look and see with the mapping to where you fall. There is a subcontracting event that I receive information on, but it is in Virginia and I'm when do you feel it's well, Tracy Lynn, it depends on where you are with your business right now. I would say if you want to pursue government contracting, you may, but I will tell you all in SAM, there are many varied opportunities, small business events. They are in every state. And I will tell you how to find them. So let me go through these slides and then Tracy, I'm gonna come back to you. Okay, so the second acronym, I don't see it in the chat. I'm sorry, I didn't hit enter. All right. Okay, so PTAC is Procurement Technical Assistance Center. And then we have SBDC, which is Small Business Development Center. For the most part, they're basically both going to be able to help you. A lot of the PTACs, they will actually sit down with you. If there is a requirement that you're going after, you need some help with trying to figure out a request for proposal, they will actually sit down with you and help you. Sometimes I know in the past they did. So they will help you understand the requirements, understand how to look it up. So get familiar with PTAC in your area and SBDC. Oh, okay, cool, Lauren. That's really good. Okay, so let me get through these slides and then because we're going to be winding down. So I'm going to talk a little bit about veteran-owned small business. And so you must be a small business as determined by the Small Business Administration, must be at least 51% owned by at least one veteran, or if a publicly owned business, at least 51% of the stock must be owned by at least one veteran. You must have management and daily operations controlled by at least one veteran. Veteran status may be self-certified in accordance with 52219-1. That's out of the FAR, Federal Acquisition Regulations. There is no set-aside program for veteran-owned small businesses, but there is a set-aside program for service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses. Okay, and I'm going to just go through this. The statutory goal is 3%, and I want to get down to the bottom. Let's see. When it comes to a service connected disability, it actually says it can be from 0 to 100%. That's what it says. Okay, so with the SDVOSB program, and you may ask, okay, so I had a gentleman, he was in a wheelchair. He was a service disabled vet. I believe he did a lot of the work in the office. And I almost think that he did go to a lot of the job sites in his wheelchair. And so, if you know anyone who is a veteran, they are always looking for veterans because it is two programs, two socioeconomic programs, very hard to meet the goals: SDVOSB and Hub Zone. Okay, so if you fall into a hub zone like Lauren, you definitely want to move forward with that. Okay. All right. I'm going to talk about the Women Owned Small Business Federal Contracting Program. When I first started government contracting, we did not even have a set aside for women owned. And so